All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College online AWD or Application and Web Development 1100 C# programming class, I've been doing a series of video presentations, mainly concentrating on the PowerPoint slides for the textbook for the class, that being Murox C# 8th edition. But what I've also been doing is doing this payroll program that I'm now turning into an employee program. Basically, it's the same thing, but we're rewriting it with OOP. Now, when I ran it before, I got it to work commenting out a line, all right, but it was giving me 0. Let's first look at that. Everything in here was fine. I guess I kind of am more going towards the way of Muroc. So I did make my first letter capitalized. All right, because I noticed, for example, when you do the constructor, it's capitalized. So I'm trying to be consistent. All right, first thing I had to do to make this work was I was never adding to my total number of employees, and that's why it was 0. And I was never calculating their gross pay and adding it to the total payroll. That's why that was 0. All right, now I added those 2 lines. I don't believe I changed anything else inside of here. Nothing. All right. So I just had to add those 2 lines that you see in blue there. File, save all. All right. Then back in here, this was all okay. All right. I'll show you this in just a minute. But when I ran this, again, it was 0. All right. And this was giving me an error, and it was giving me an error because the average gross pay was expecting a list of employees, which I wasn't providing. So when you look here, what do we have? Let's just kind of figure this out, okay? And I'm going to just do it myself. I honestly have not done this before, so I'm hoping that the answers that I've got here are all correct. So the first one is 40 times 25, right? So 40 times 25, that should be 1,000, right? So that's 1,000. The next one is 50 times 40, so that should be 2,000. All right, so we've got 1,000 plus 2,000 here, so that's a total of 3,000. Then we've got 30 times 30, and that should be 900. All right. So that's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 3,900. 60 times 25 should be 1,500. Oops, well, I goofed that up. But that is 1,500. 60 times 25 is 1,500. And I guess I made the other one 60 times 25 also. Let's make this 25 and 25. Okay. All right. So 25 times 25 should be 625, right? Good. So let's add these up manually ourselves. 40 times 25 is 1,000. And then add to that 50 times 40, which is 2,000. And then add to that 30 times 30, which is 900. And then add to that 60 times 25, which is 1,500. And finally add to that 25 times 25, which is 625. That says our total payroll should be $6,025. And if I divide that by 5, the average payroll should be $1,205. Well, let's see if indeed, when we do this, we get 5 employees, 62, whatever it was, 6205, I think it was, 6250, I think it was, and 1205, something like that. So let's run it. 6,025 and 1205, that's all working. But I decided that wasn't enough. I wanted to print out the information for each employee. So I came in with a for each loop in here. And wrote it out. So the employee number followed by their number, their full name, which is their first name, a space, and their last name. Insurance, which will either say true or false. Hours worked, and I formatted that to N2, so it's a number field with 2 decimal places. Hourly rate, which is currency. Gross pay for that person, which is currency. Hire date, 2 short strings that remove the time, and same with birth date. Now, notice it's emp, which is this, emp dot, all right, in all of these here. Okay, and what do we have here? We've got employee number. Where did he get that from? That's this, employee number. All right, same thing with first name and last name. The has insurance, the hours worked. Now you'll notice for the gross pay, we're actually calling the routine. We don't have a gross pay field. We calculate the gross pay. And then for our hire date and for our birth date, we're just removing the time. And then I put 2 blank lines between each one. Then we're printing out our final totals. All right. And this wasn't, like I said, nothing like a gee whiz type of program, but it's meant to get people started with this stuff. So when we look at this, there's me. And you can see everything looks pretty good. A couple blank lines. Sandy, couple blank lines. Taylor, couple blank lines. Kenzie, couple blank lines. Chloe, couple blank lines, and then our finals. So one of the things that we did in this program that was good, all right, was, for example, we practiced encapsulation in here. And what do I mean when I say we practiced encapsulation? Well, if you take a look in here, again, for our employee number, we have just a get. For our birth date and our hire date, we don't even need these sets. We can get rid of them. So we can get rid of that, and we can get rid of that. We're assuming that once you get a hire date, you're not changing it. Once you get a birth date, you're not changing it. Let's run this to prove that we didn't break anything. Same information. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same final totals. So we broke nothing. But we practiced the art of encapsulation, which basically said we made fields, all right, in here read only by having just a get and no set, because they don't need to be modified. And those fields again were hire date, birth date, and employee number. All right. Now, when we created a new employee in the constructor, all right, this is where I screwed up before. We needed to update those counters. We needed to make those counters that were actually defined down here, wherever the heck they are, but they're down here someplace. There they are. We needed to make those static, because when you make something static, it retains its value through different calls. If we remove the static from here, then what it's going to have for the total number of employees, it's going to say 1, and the total payroll will just be the last person. We don't want that. All right? So we could have done it someplace else, but in the constructor, it seemed to make sense to put it there. All right, finally, you notice the error handling. We did do some in here, but it's done a little bit differently. We wanted to handle potential exceptions. All right. So how do we do that? All right, let's see if we can throw an exception here. In fact, we're going to throw a couple of them. All right, we could have come in and checked, for example, on the hire date and the birth date, we could have checked in there to make sure that the hire date wasn't later than today. that the birth date, had to be at least 18 years. I'm trying to keep this more simplistic. All right. But let's throw a couple of errors in here on purpose. So I'm going to do this like this. I'm going to first come in here and I'm going to change the hours from 40 to 400. That's purposely putting an error in here. So File, Save All, and I'm going to run the program. And watch what happens. All right. Ooh, it took it. I did not think that would happen. So let's look at our code. So we put a 400 in there. All right. And that was for hours worked. So let's go back down to here. I want to go check this myself. If value okay, it appears as though it's not checking it in the constructor. These are what are actually going to be called when I make changes. All right, so let's see if I can make a change. I don't know if I can or not, but I'm going to try to. Again, I'm trying to break the program. I am purposely trying to break the program. We'll make that 40 again. All right. So it did appear that, in fact, if I come in here and make that 400 and that 250, it'll take it. And it did. Be a nice gross pay for me, but I'm surprised. All right, so let's see. I'm going to come in here and see if I can do this. I don't know if it'll work or not. Yeah, we could have gone through, like I said, and checked some of the other stuff. The validation should have checked that our properties were good from the start. That really should have checked it right here, and it's not. I'm going to have to look at that because I'm not sure exactly what happened there. All right. Let's look in here. We're going to have to adjust this so that if the value changes when the program runs, we can change that. I'm going to leave this the way it is right now. And this is a short video. It's only been 15 minutes. All right. I'm going to stop right here because hopefully, at least, hopefully, you got something out of this to start with. All right. This is a complex topic. All right. And what I want to do is, let's see, I'll find the slides. Which, of course, I thought were there and are not. Not there either. There we go. And I want to go up to Chapter 13, which is our next chapter. All right. Here it's how to work with indexers, delegates, events, and operators. All right. And I'm looking in here. And we are going to look at this. I am not going to update the employee program to include this stuff. This is probably the hardest chapter out of all of them, but we will go in there and update our product list, or at least attempt to go in there and update our product list. All right, you can see. So this is product list. So is this, and so is this. So we will go in there and attempt to do that. My guess is this will be a shorter lecture. All right. And there's nothing wrong with this, but this is a very complex topic. When we get done with this topic, we're going to jump into 14, and chapter 14 is working with inheritance. When we get done with that, we're going to go in and we're going to make, we're going to take our employee class and we're going to make, maybe 4 subclasses out of it. We'll make an hourly employee class. We will make a piecework employee class. We will make a salaried employee class. And we will make a commission employee class. And we'll do all of that stuff together. All right? All right. So again, I'm going to jump back into chapter 13. We will go in and make these changes, and I'm going to do one thing before we do that, and that is okay. I'm going to come in here, and we have the in here we have started working on this product maintenance thing. All right, and there it is. So I'm going to copy it here. I am going to change the name of it to product maintenance CH12. That shouldn't hurt anything. All right, then I'm going to copy it, paste it. I'm going to do this in another way once we get going more in class. All right, but I'm going to call this CH13. So this is the same one we've been working with previously, except I'm going to update this for chapter 13. All right, so I will be back with that shortly.